This question comes from Samantha, who asks, when two ancient humans locked eyes across a campfire 50,000 years ago, what actually happened next? Honestly, probably something uncomfortably familiar, but it's more interesting than that. Most people assume ancient human courtship was brutish and wordless. A grunt, a club, a cave. The archaeological record, though, tells a stranger and more tender story than that. Start with the oldest evidence we have. Across dozens of Paleolithic sites, researchers keep finding the same thing buried alongside human remains. Ochre, red ochre, a vivid iron-rich pigment that was ground into powder and almost certainly smeared on skin. The oldest known cosmetic use goes back around 100,000 years in southern Africa, which means that before writing, before agriculture, before pottery, we had concealer. We were doing our faces before a night out. Deliberate body decoration signals something important. It means ancient humans understood that appearance could be constructed, that you could present a version of yourself that was slightly more than the default. That is, at its core, the logic of attraction. But ochre is just the start. There's another piece of evidence, and it's a weird one. Shells with holes in them. At sites in Morocco, Israel, and Algeria, archaeologists have found tiny Nassarius shells with deliberate puncture holes, dated somewhere between 100,000 and 130,000 years ago. They were strung, worn. Some have traces of red ochre on them. These were beads, some of the earliest jewelry ever found, showing up thousands of years before we thought symbolic thinking even existed in humans. Wearing something purely decorative, something that says, look at me, that's not survival behavior, that's peacocking, that's flirting across a campfire with accessories. What about the actual approach though? This is where it gets fun and speculative, and also, honestly, not that different from a Saturday night. Studies of hunter-gatherer societies suggest music played a huge role. Bone flutes from Holfels Cave in Germany date to 40,000 years ago, and playing an instrument well in basically every culture ever studied. Signals coordination, memory, creativity, social status, all things a potential mate might reasonably care about. Someone was absolutely using a vulture bone flute to impress someone else. We just don't know if it worked. Humor probably goes just as far back. Researchers studying primate behavior have noted that laughter and play in great apes functions partly as a bonding signal. The same neural circuits that make chimpanzees laugh when tickled produce laughter in humans. Making someone genuinely crack up has probably been a seduction tool for as long as we've had any sense of humor at all. There's a real argument that wit is older than language. Here's the part that tends to catch people off guard. Neanderthals, usually cast as the brutish cousins we outcompeted, also wore jewelry. Eagle talons strung as ornaments, found in Croatia, date to 130,000 years ago, before any contact with modern humans in that region. They were wearing eagle talons. In terms of sending a message, that's genuinely impressive. You don't collect eagle talons for warmth. What all of this points to is that the deep logic of attraction, notice me, I'm capable, I'm creative, I made an effort, is as old as our species. Older even. The specific vocabulary has shifted. We've traded ochre for highlighter and bone flutes for carefully curated Spotify playlists. But the underlying move hasn't changed. You take the raw material of yourself and arrange it into something worth looking at. Somewhere between 50,000 and 100,000 years ago, a person ground red pigment into their palm, pressed it to their cheek, and turned towards someone they wanted to impress. They were nervous? Probably. That part definitely hasn't changed.